Hello everybody, welcome to JAIIB CAIIB English Medium channel. I hope that all of you are doing fine. And when we talk about the JAIIB examination, the first step towards preparing for the JAIIB exam is to have an overview of the PYQs which have been asked. And today we will be having the second class of the PYQ. The first class was held last Saturday. If you have not watched that particular session, I would highly recommend that once this session is over, go and visit that session also. One quick announcement for all of you that today is 30th of August, which is the last date for registering your JAB examination for November 2025. If anyone who is present here has not, submitted the final application or registered for the JAB examination, it is highly recommended to register as soon as possible as the window will be closing soon. Okay, so what will be the approach for this session? Let me be very clear with all of you. First of all, I will be, providing you with the PYQ. Then we will try to analyze the four options, five options, whatever number of options are there. After that, we will be arriving at an answer. And along with that, the options we have analyzed, along with that, what is the elaboration which is required for the correct answer that will also be dealt with. So keep in mind one thing that you must answer whatever the option you feel is correct, and we will have a discussion around that as well. So let's get started. The first question in front of us is relating to a particular topic, that is the economic planning. So which of the following is a method by which government can finance its deficit? We are trying to have the finance for certain deficit. Okay, so direct term is not mentioned very cleverly, I would say, but yes, you have to infer first that what kind of statement is there. So financing its deficit, the government is doing what? The government is performing deficit financing. First of all, you must infer that. After that, you will be able to understand in a better manner that what is being asked. So simply stated, what is asked here? The question says that you have to tell me that which of the following method is involved in deficit financing by the government of India. So the first statement says increasing the tax rates on corporations and individuals. This is what? Certain tweak in the taxation system, which is a part of your domestic budgetary system. Fine. So obviously it is not a part of deficit financing. Then we have selling the shares of public sector undertaking to private entities. Here what is happening? Some disinvestment is happening. Again, no deficit financing at all. Then we have borrowing the money from the Reserve Bank of India. So we have seen in the economic planning that deficit financing can be done using the three methods, out of which one method is borrowing the money from RBI. So this will be the correct answer. Okay. So what are the other two? Anybody who wants to share that? What are the other two? You can say methods via which we perform the deficit financing in our country. One is the borrowing money from RBI. What about the other two? Then the fourth statement, we will be analyzing that also, since we know that we have to be very certain if a particular statement is correct or not, and why it is wrong as well, that we must also know. So decreasing its overall expenditure on planned projects, what will be the repercussion of this thing? You are already having lesser revenue for the masses, fine, because ultimately the government is spending for whom? For the masses only. And this reduced revenue, if you are not using that revenue also on certain amount of, you can say, projects which are to be, planned, then you are not participating in the economic growth of the country. When we will be talking about the union budget, then you will know in a better manner that what are the planned expenditure and what about the non-planned expenditure. The utmost important expenditure uh, forms the part of your planned projects. But we'll be looking into that in a later stage when we will discuss the questions based on module B. Okay. So the correct answer for this question, I hope everybody knows now, will be option C. And what about the remaining two methods of deficit financing? Let's look into that also. So when I talk about the financial resources for economic plans, there are three methods via which we do the planning using the various financial resources. The first one, the first financial resource is domestic budget resources, out of which the maximum portion will be from the taxation, whatever the money the government receives from the taxation methods. The second financial resource is deficit financing, where we have three types, three methods via which the deficit financing can be done. First, borrowing from public and foreign government. Then, withdrawing the cash balances held with the RBI. So one is this is the second one, and third one, which we have seen in the option, that is borrowing from the RBI. Fine. So all the three you must remember, because question can be asked around any of the three. So deficit financing, always remember, borrowing from public and foreign government, withdrawing cash balances held with the RBI, and borrowing from the RBI. When I talk about the third financial resource for the government for the economic plans, it will be foreign assistance. And the most important partner for us, for our country, will be World Bank. And World Bank comprises of various organizations, out of which IBRD and IDA are the prominent ones when it comes to funding, when it comes to investing in a particular country's growth. Fine. So IBRD along with IDA, we will be having the maximum portion of foreign assistance from them only. Okay. So remember the three financial resources: foreign assistance, deficit financing, and domestic budget resources. And if we have to give a preference order, or for that matter arrange them in the descending order of importance, so the most important will be domestic budget resources, then we have deficit financing, then we have the foreign assistance. Fine. 1, 2 and 3. Okay, the description or the solution is here also, and once the session is over, you can download the PDF as well, where you will be having all the solution and explanation. Now comes the most important question, that is from the PSL targets. Every year, IIBF has been asking question from the PSL obligation, be it in your PPB subject, or for that matter IFS, sometimes in RBWM as well. So what is the question here in front of us pertaining to the PSL targets? Normally we expect that PSL target questions will be of one liner. You will be asked directly that yes, what is the target specifically for agriculture when it comes to for the SFB, small finance bank, or for that matter RRBs. But we can expect questions based on statements, big statements for the PSL targets. So let's see what is asked in this question. The PSL target, priority sector lending target for various categories of banks in India are provided by the Reserve Bank of India. Identify the statement that is not an accurate representation of the specified PSL target. So always remember, read between the lines, try to highlight the keywords in your mind also, that yes, we have to select the incorrect statement based on the information which we have read already. So PSL norms, the first statement says domestic commercial banks, excluding the RRBs and SFBs, are mandated to allocate 18% of their ANBC or COB, whichever is higher, towards agriculture sector, with a sub target of 10% for SMFs, that is small and marginal farmers. So domestic commercial banks, when we talk about the mandate which has to be allocated by the domestic commercial banks to the agriculture sector, it is 18%. Yes, that is correct. And the sub target is 10% towards SMFs. That is also right. So this is a correct statement, not an incorrect, or for that matter inaccurate statement. This is highly accurate statement. And when I talk about the amendment which has been made in March by the RBI, March 2025, it has added one more category in the agricultural sector obligation, that is the uh, NCF category, non-corporate farmers category. For that, 14% is the obligation now. Okay. Second statement says foreign banks with less than 20 branches operating in India are subject to the same PSL targets as RRBs across all the listed priority sectors. So what is the number of priority sector in our country? It is 8 plus 1. 8 are segregated. Fine. They have definitive definition also. One is the category of others, where mostly we have the corporates in this particular category. So foreign banks with less than 20 branches, that is the number of branches will be between 1 to 19. Why I am telling you these basics? Because sometimes IBF asks the question that if a particular foreign bank is having, let's suppose, 20 branches in our country, then what will be the priority sector obligation? So if you do not know the actual bifurcation, you might take the answer for the number of branches which are between 1 to 19. Okay. So foreign banks with less than 20 branches means the number of branches of the foreign banks are in the range of 1 to 19. Operating in India are subject to the same PSL targets as RRBs across all the listed priority sectors. Keep this thing in mind whenever we talk about the PSL guidelines of RBI, the master guidelines of the RBI. It talks about the foreign banks with less than 20 branches in India only for the total priority sector. Only for the total priority sector, the obligation has been mentioned by the RBI for the foreign banks with less than 20 branches. But for agriculture, for micro enterprises, or for that matter, weaker section, no obligation is applicable on these foreign banks. Fine, foreign banks with less than 20 branches. So this statement will be wrong. It will be inaccurate. Okay. So the correct answer will be option B. Now, if I am a student who is trying to attempt a mock test, then should I be, giving so much time to each and every option? Answer is no. I will just look into the main things, like here it is mentioned 18%, okay, against the domestic commercial banks towards agriculture. Then I will be looking into the uh, total priority sector lending for the RRBs, foreign banks with less than 20 branches, like that, and I'll be arriving at the final answer. But since we are discussing, so that is why we are trying to elaborate on the same. So that's why let's see what is written in C statement also. The RRBs are required to allocate a higher percentage of their ANBC or COB towards advances to weaker sections, 15% compared to the target for domestic commercial banks for the same category, that is 12%. So that is also correct. RRBs are having a fixed role, that is they have to serve the rural areas. Fine, the rural credit is at the prerogative of the RRBs, and that is the reason why RBI has provided for some additional obligation for the RRBs, in which category? In the category of advances towards weaker section, because the list of weaker section includes maximum individuals, or for that matter body of individuals, who are residing with the rural areas only. Fine. So 15% is the obligation for the RRBs to spend on the advances to weaker section. Whereas for the domestic commercial banks, excluding the RRBs and SFBs, you have 12%, and SFBs also you have 12% only. Next statement, small finance banks have the same PSL target for micro enterprises, that is 7.5 as the domestic commercial bank. This is also correct. 7.5% is the obligation for the SFBs, for the RRBs, as well as for the domestic commercial banks and foreign banks with 20 or more branches. Okay, so correct answer is option B, because we have to tell the inaccurate or not an accurate representation. Fine. This is the table given in our book, fine, which is not updated yet. That's why you won't be able to see the 14% NCF category, which has been included in March 2025 by the RBI. This is the updated circular, the revised guidelines, which were revised in March 2025. And the categories are total priority sector. Then we have the agriculture, micro enterprises, and advances to weaker section. For various banks, we have domestic commercial banks excluding RRBs and SFBs. Why they are excluded? Because they have separate categories: regional rural bank and small finance banks. Then we have the foreign banks with 20 branches and above. So all those foreign banks which are having 20 plus branches, right? 20 or more than 20 branches, they are also categorized under this category of domestic commercial banks only. Then we have a category of foreign banks with less than 20 branches, that is 1 to 19 branches. Okay. So how the total priority sector obligation has been mentioned in the RBI's guidelines, it will be 40% of ANBC or COB, whichever is higher. Then we have 40% of the NBC or COB, whichever is higher. But for the foreign banks with less than 20 branches, you have a segregation of 32% and 8%. 32% will go towards export credit, 8% will go towards the other 8 priority sectors. In total, there are 9 priority sectors now, 8 plus 1. So the remaining 8% will go to the remaining 8 priority sectors. For RRBs, it is 75%, the total priority sector. And because their function, try to understand the rationale here. The functioning of RRBs focus towards the rural areas, fine, where the rural credit has to be disbursed, where the credit is not easily available. Most of the people used to rely on the private money lenders. So 75% is the obligation on the RRBs. And here also segregation has been made into 60% and 15%. So this 15% in RRBs will be towards the medium enterprises, fine. These are the maximum limits, fine. 15% is the maximum limit. Medium enterprises, social infrastructure, or for that matter, renewable energy, fine. These three categories, 15%. The remaining 60% will go towards the remaining 6 priority sectors. That is what is written in the RBI's guidelines. Small finance banks, you will be having 75% of ANBC or COB, whichever is higher. So how you will be remembering them? 40, 40, 75, 75. Agriculture, it is again 18% here. In RRB is also 18% and SFB is also 18%. From agriculture, micro enterprises, advances to weaker section, there is no obligation on the foreign banks, and these sectors or these categories are not applicable on the foreign banks with less than 20 branches. So we'll be talking only about these three, that is domestic commercial banks and foreign banks with 20 branches and above, RRBs and SFBs for your agri, micro enterprise and advances to weaker section. So in agriculture, 18% of NBC or COB, whichever is higher. And out of this 18, you will have 14% for the non-corporate farmers category, the NCF category. And then 10% is earmarked for the small and marginal farmers as well. So SMF farmers, fine, having the land holding less than 1 hectare. Fine. Then we have for RRBs as well as SFBs, same type of obligation is there. 18% overall agriculture, 14% NCF, 10% small and marginal farmers. Then we have the micro enterprises where 7.5, 7.5, 7.5, all the three type of financial institutions will be having the 7.5 as the obligation towards priority sector. Then we have advances to weaker sections where 12% is from the side of domestic commercial bank and foreign bank with 20 branches and above. And for SMF also you have the 12%. But keep in mind the exception is RRBs where 15% is the obligation towards the advances to weaker section. Fine. So this table, these guidelines are highly important for our examination. Questions have been asked in the previous cycle and chances are there that the same trend will be repeated by the IIBF. Okay. So the correct answer was option B, because there it was written that the foreign banks with less than 20 branches also will have to go for the obligation as per the norms given by the RBI, similar in a similar manner as was applicable to the RRBs. So for RRBs in agriculture, it is what, 18%, but no obligation, or the obligations are not applicable on the foreign banks with less than 20 branches. That is why B was incorrect. Next question, which of the following is a primary objective of Startup India initiative launched by the Government of India. So primary objective, whenever we talk about the primary objective of any scheme, in any scheme, you must know why it was set up. Whenever it was launched, what was the initial objective of the scheme? Based on that, try to answer this question pertaining to Startup India. We have seen students making or you can say giving wrong answers. Why? Because of the confusion between Startup India and Stand Up India. They were launched together, and that is the sole reason why students often confuse between the Stand Up and Startup India scheme questions, and they are unable to bifurcate that. After this question, after the discussion of this question, you will be able to have a clarity based on the topic, that is Startup India, Stand Up India as well. So first statement says to exclusively focus on technology sector and promote its growth in tier 1 cities. So focus is only on the technology sector. Was it only on the technology sector, or we were talking about innovation? Right? This is a wrong statement. That's the reason it is wrong. To provide financial assistance specifically to women entrepreneurs and those belonging to SC/ST communities. Now, this is a part or the objective of Stand Up India scheme, not the Startup India scheme. Fine, it is for the Stand Up India scheme where the government will be providing loan amount pertaining to a specific limit for the green ventures, green business ventures. What is the meaning of green business venture? You are starting your business from scratch. You do not have any kind of knowledge or for that matter experience for that business, and specifically you belong to a woman, to the woman category, or for that matter SC/ST communities. If you are fulfilling these conditions, then you will be having a certain amount of assistance, financial assistance from the government. So this is a part of Stand Up India scheme, not the Startup India. Then we have to foster innovation, promote long-term economic growth, create large-scale employment opportunities across various sectors and cities. This was the primary objective. Fine. We want to foster innovation. We want to develop the entrepreneurial skills in our youth. We want to promote long-term economic growth and create large-scale employment opportunities. Last statement, to primarily streamline the process of establishing large-scale manufacturing units in rural areas. We were supposed to start from the cities, then move towards semi-urban, and then to the rural areas. Rural areas, not primarily, but at the end. Okay, so the correct answer will be option C. And what you have to remember here, that this scheme, that is Startup India scheme, was launched in January 2016. And when we talk about the initiative, it will be starting off with the innovation, promoting the long-term economic growth and creating large-scale employment opportunities. And this particular scheme will be spread across the cities. So currently, that is in 2016, tier 1 cities will be involved, then it will spread towards tier 2 cities, then tier 3 cities. After that, you will say that yes, semi-urban as well as rural areas will also be inculcating under this scheme. But when I talk about the Startup India scheme, it is highly likely that question can be asked from here. The confusion starts when we read them parallelly. That's Startup India and Stand Up India. No, read them separately, then only you will be able to understand the actual difference. Stand Up India scheme talks about special financial assistance to the uh, business ventures, for the business ventures which are of the term greenfield. Greenfield business venture, you are starting business from the scratch. So here what will happen? If you are a female or you belong to SC/ST category, you are eligible for a particular loan, special loan within the range of 10 lakh to 1 crore. 10 lakh to 1 crore. If you are having no experience of business, or for that matter, you are starting business from scratch and you belong to SC/ST category or a female, right? So this was it for today's class. I hope that you are able to understand the questions and how we must approach these questions. For the PDF of this class, You can directly scan this code and will be redirected to the virtual library where you can download the PDF as well, and try to revise from that PDF. Okay, just downloading it won't work. You must revise, keep on revising the various limits, various norms which are mentioned in the PDF. And if you have not started your preparation yet, you are confused that how I should begin my preparation, what is the best study material out there, I would highly recommend you to attend the free orientation classes which are there on this particular channel only for our paid classes. Fine, the paid classes, they have one orientation class where we discuss the structure of our paid classes, how we will be approaching that. And yesterday only we have conducted the class for IFS orientation classes there on this channel only. Try to visit that particular video and see for yourself that how we are approaching the entire examination. So if you want to buy the study material, buy the one-stop solution course from us, then JAB Mahapack will be the one which you can target. So right now, since it's August end, we are offering you the best discounts on our courses, be it the JAB or GAB Mahapack, where 79% of flat discount is available, plus additional 1% discount is available if you are enrolling from the ADDA 247 official application. Okay, so obviously you need to grab this opportunity if you are serious enough to crack this exam in November 2025, because until and unless you finalize your study material, you want to be having any kind of focused approach towards this exam. So try to solve this doubt as soon as possible. In case you have more doubts regarding the study materials, then you can call us on this number 981-981-9247. Fine, ADA 247 247. Okay, so this was it from my side. If you have any kind of doubt, feel free to comment below. And for maximum discounts on our paid courses, you can